Hey guys, hey. So glad to be recording today. Yay. Yeah, I hope that y'all are doing well. Shout out to my patrons that I do have. They already know, like the tea of like what's going on right now. And I'm also itching to put out another collective message. And yeah, if you're interested in that, if you're just interested in like, what is going on right now? What are the planets doing? I do want to incorporate some more astrology, into my messages, but for me, astrology is just fun. I know I don't know everything, but I got to keep telling my own mind that I don't have to know everything in order to just put certain things out there, Right now, child, there's a lot of themes going on, but the theme for me personally right now is just like responsibility. And we're going to get into that today in the episode. So, moving right along, let's get into who I am. A lot of y'all already know. Before the newcomers, hello. My name is NicoleHeals, and that person is a collective guide here to help people, go internal and awaken to themselves. There's a lot of confusion in general, about what it means to be human and what it means to be like all these definitions of human. Like human is good only. Human is happy only. If human is sad, then human need to be, put in psych ward type shit. Just really awaken to what really, like, to yourself, but also what really is human, and how mental health is, of course, real, but it's so exacerbated in this society that says human is only good. Human is defined only in terms of good or bad. I could go on a whole rant about this. This is not even part of my intro, but ciao. And so when it comes to awakening, I do that through a focus on spirituality, in general. Inner spirituality, that means like getting to your inner wisdom that is within. I talk a lot about the shadow and, prompt everyone to do shadow work. And honestly, what we talk about on this podcast, this is shadow work. It leads you right to the shadow so that you can see what's in there and you can stop being so afraid of it in a society that says light good, shadow bad, and puts it in these small boxes that we don't even really know what it really means and entails. If you didn't notice, I'm such a why question type of person, much to like my parents' dismay. But it's just like I like to turn concepts on their heads and really truly ask why. What is good? What is bad? Get into like the true definitions and see how the definitions change. What if we scrap good and bad and we just talk about integrity? Oh, child, I'm titillating myself. But anyway, so yeah, I do that through a focus on spirituality and as well as inner child healing. Because if you didn't know, so much starts from childhood and happens within the family that we go through, but we don't really reflect on. And in that reflection, we can see the themes that show up in our own lives today and have been here, through our life from childhood. And we can just do something about it because it's time. And we do this work because why? Because you need all of your energy to move on, to have yourself, to have your life. And so we need to go back in time to live authentically and in your own truth, and not society's truth, your own spirit. You know, you need all your energy. And so we go back and we collect these fragmented or seemingly fragmented versions of ourselves, and we bring them back into the light, into our light, and into present time. Because a lot of us are just not living that way. We're not living presently. We're living still in an 8-year-old, I used to say body, but now I really want to say nervous system. We're living in an 8-year-old mindset and emotional regulatory system. And it's time to bring those things into the present so that we can change it all and we can get a hold and actual control over these systems that have just been running rampant within our bodies, within our minds, within our spirit, and within our nervous system. So if you're here, then that means you're ready for like at least some type of aspect of that. Yay! And to that, I say welcome to the Healing Corner with NicoleHeals. Welcome to my Healing Corner, which is the space that I've carved out, to help people carve out their own, and think freely and feel freely. Feel free to grab whatever you need, something nurturing. Maybe it's some tea, some water. I'm all for a good, emotional support drink. I have my water and my Gatorade here. Bring your crystals, whatever crystals is calling out to you right now, your Bible or any other type of sacred text that you have that, ring true to you. Match it with some nice fuzzy socks, maybe no sweats right now because, child, it is hot. But yeah, get whatever you need at whatever time that you're listening to this. Get comfortable and come and get this healing. If you would like to donate to the podcast and to me in general as a creator and guide, you can send donations to my Cash App, which is at NICCC1. And if you would like to make reoccurring donations, head over to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/NicoleHeals, and you can set up a monthly subscription for $4.44 a month or higher. Listen, I do not oblige. Whatever you feel to give in your heart, I thank you so much. And on Patreon, which is a creator platform, you get some additional treats. And like full disclosure, I used to feel so bad promoting my Patreon before because I wasn't really, I was struggling to add to it, but now I can confidently say there are articles there. It gets juicy. I give sneak peeks to my patrons on scripts, excerpts to scripts for the next episode. And I've been really I've been growing, expanding, ascending, and really stepping into my chair as a collective guide. And so there are a lot of collective messages that I feel that I just pop up, on Patreon and just, and then, it goes live. So if you feel like you resonate with me and my words and the way that I talk and explain things, feel free to hop over there and just get all of these additional treats and, figure out if you're ever what is going on right now? What's the planet doing right now? Those collective messages that I put out give great insight, So yeah, feel free to tap into that. And lastly, if you would like to non-monetarily donate, feel free to rate the podcast, comment if you can, if that's an option for you on the medium that you listen to. answer the polls and the questions that are set up, that are on Spotify. Follow me on socials, and even posting about an episode or two on your own, like in your story, and just tagging me, as well as, recommending it by word of mouth. That helps me so much. It's really greatly appreciated. And it just, it allows me to expand my reach and for people to, get their healing. And so doing that for me, you get such good karma. But you just, you help do your little part in uplifting the world, which thank you so much. Now, let's get into it, honey. I have a special treat for all of us listening right now. I really wanted to make sure that, this episode and the heavy topics that we do get into, because I know self-respect in general can be a heavy topic, as, it can present a mirror to us. And so I provided a meditation, which we're going to get into, in a few moments, just to prepare the body physically and energetically to be able to receive, the medicine of this episode at all of our current comfort levels. And so I really hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. Let's start by taking some well-needed, well-deserved deep breaths. As many as you want to get into, feel free to pause it until you're ready. First, let's come into our body. And let's make the choice right now together to simply flow without any obligation to get anything right. We know by now that the healing journey in general and all that it entails is not about getting anything right. It's not about that. It's not about proving. We're not about getting things right here. We're actually about settling into reality. So let's check in the most realistic way by inviting in compassion, as well as a sense of neutrality about this moment right now and who we are right now. And allow those two energies to fuse together to invite ourselves to be curious and just explore all that this moment has to offer. And so as I name each body part from the ground up, I want you to couple it with the phrase, I choose. And so right now, let's choose to come into our feet and just thank these lovely feet for the foundations that they set just by walking, just by moving forward. And let's also choose to come into our beautiful, shapely shins, as well as our supportive and strong knees, our supportive thighs and our hips. Let's choose our backsides, as well as our reproductive organs and our pelvis. This area, depending on your relationship with it, has not always had the right type of support. Let's admit it, we are human. And so let's just remember to take a wonderful deep breath into this space and into every space that may be hard to choose on other days. And let's just set the intention to choose it today. And let's set the further intention to choose it in wonderful appreciation, in wonderful, even dare I say, admiration, and just in wonderful curiosity about all that it truly does for you in any and all contexts that you need in this moment right now. And now let's move up to our stomachs, thanking it for all of the ways that it functions for us and all of the ways that it digests our delicious foods and all of the other functions that it has for us. Let's just choose it, come into it, and choose gratitude for it. Feel free to even say a verbal thank you as we take our deep breaths and wrap that choice and appreciation moving upward to our lower back. Thank you for all of the things that you have held and all of the things that you hold that you may choose right now in this moment. In choosing that lower back, that you may choose to let go of the things that it has once held and that you have been convinced that it is your job to hold. Let's choose an appreciation that we get to drop it and let it go. And with this choice, this choosing in all of the body parts that we have already done, feel free to allow all types and any types of a release, any type of clearing that you feel is right and true right now. I want you to choose it. And I just want you to notice you choosing it and notice what happens as you choose yourself again and as you choose reality again, and understand that the true, authentic self and reality are not separate from each other. And I want you to choose that knowing right now in this moment. And make sure you choose it again and again and again as you choose yourself over and over as we move forward. And just notice the information as you choose yourself that your body has for you. And just notice, because we're not about obligation here. We're not about getting things right here. That doesn't have to exist right now. You have all that you need in the choices that you make. And now let's flow into even more effective choices in choosing our upper stomachs and ribs and all of the muscles and bone that support our most vulnerable organs and what a lot of us may feel as our most vulnerable areas of the body, physically, but also of the energetic body. And let's just breathe into that. And remember to choose the breath also. And let's move by choosing our chests and just allowing the energy, the same energy that flowed into our body as we made the choice for it, each and every body part. Allow the energy to flow into our chest, into our hearts, and possibly choosing right now to open that space up to ourselves in this moment. The space that may have been open through the back door to other people, but closed to ourselves. Right now, we can make the choice to reverse that action and close it up through the back door, through our physical backs. We can feel a closing and a protecting of the space while choosing to open up our inner hearts to ourselves and the rest of our bodies. And let's make the choice to breathe into that and understand that these are choices that you deserve and have the right to make. Consciously choosing our heart, consciously choosing to open up this space to ourselves in this moment and to receive the medicine of this episode. Consciously choosing the back of the heart and our physical backs to have it operate for us. Laying an energetic hand of care and compassion to this area and lending understanding to whatever it has been through that may have made you choose to not have support for this area in the past. Let's let that go. Just like we released our lower back, we can release our full back, our full shoulders, our full chest, and any other body part. We can choose to release it and make that choice today. Make that choice to choose these areas and reclaim it for ourselves. And not just to compensate for the person and the things that we may have had to turn into. And we can make the choice with or without fear, but still with courage. And we can just utilize the breath as we choose courage today. And with that choosing, let's choose this knowing that comes from our heart and the rest of our body of who we truly are. Breathe as you understand that there is no confusion. There is no second guessing in this moment. There are no doubts because in this space, as we breathe and as we expand upon ourselves for ourselves, and for each and every transformation that we may need, in this space, you just are. We just are. We just exist. We choose to just be who we are. We choose that person. And we choose the changes made to our space to allow that person to exist freely, as free as they need to be. There is no sense of being with the logical mind that we have been made to adopt. Who you are does not have to come out of there, out of doubt, out of dysfunction. It does not have to break through who we are has a comfortable transition from the background into the light. It has a comfortable seat within us and within our space. And we can just breathe this choosing in right now. And as we choose further to be in this state of flow and choose the rest of us and our body, I want you to notice all of the supportive energies that run through us, that make us who we are and keep us who we are. There is a physical back that supports the vulnerable front. There is a core and a spine that connects us to parts of ourselves that need the connection. Notice how the energy runs through your body, your energetic body, in the exact same way as the physical. There is power that supports the heart, and there is courage that supports our joy. There is a spine that supports all that we are, and there is a knowing that supports all that we need to be. And right now in this moment, as we breathe, let's choose to allow this knowing of physicality, this knowing that slices through ignorance, and the ignorance of who we may have been and who we were convinced that we had to choose over our true selves. A physicality that cuts through all bouts of confusion about who we really are. That it is separate in a way that we have to reach out for it when it is actually already here, waiting to be resourced, and most likely already being resourced in different ways that we may not choose to recognize, but we can choose it now. A physicality that cuts in front of us anytime we are enticed to leave our space and leave our body and our home frequency for any type of reason. This knowing that acts as a sword and is a sword of truth for exactly who we are and the full being of us, which is already perfectly formed and present, just waiting to be fully resourced. I want you to consciously choose this person and choose this truth at the same time. Allow this sword to work for you whenever you need guidance and whenever you need support to be who you are. Whenever you need protection, rightful protection, and whenever you desire redirection for what just doesn't feel safe, for what just doesn't resonate in any moment. Allow your sword of truth to come through and redirect you whenever you want to choose truth amongst all of the noise. Let's take a breath in the knowing that this sword is there for you. All you need to do is choose it, just like you're doing right now. Just allow for this energy, for its energy within our choice to flow within our bodies and act as power and support for your capacity to love, to be vulnerable, and to be yourself. Know that your vulnerabilities will be protected as you live and flow through every moment without the logical mind to control and hold you, as it may have had to in the past. That's okay. Right now, in this moment, we can choose different. And I want you to allow the sword its job. Let's thank the sword. Let's hug it. If you feel cold, kiss it. If need be, put it over you and cry under it if you need. Whatever you need right now in this moment can be resourced. And after you allow that choice, let's choose the sword, a resting place within. I want you in this moment to choose your core and notice its sweet connection to all that supports you. And let's let it rest there. It's energy flowing all throughout our back and all throughout our spine, so that we know we will always have it and it is always there supporting us. And now let's choose the rest of ourselves, our hands and our arms, our shoulders and our wonderful throats, allowing the sword to flow through and support any of these places that may need extra care. Let's choose our jaws and our tongue, our nose, our cheeks, the back of the skull, the brain stem and where it rests. Let's reclaim our ears and choose any sensitivity residing there. Let's choose our eyes and the same sensitivity that resides there. Let's choose it for once. Let's choose our brain, reclaim our minds, and lastly, we choose our crown. Allow the energy of support to bring all of these places into harmony, and let's set that intention right now as we breathe. Clearing out any and all confusion and foreign energy that makes us forget the power in our choice. However that clearing comes and however it happens, I want you to trust it, just as you trust yourself. And now let's choose grounding within ourselves, to the earth, and the rest of its mighty supports and resources that it has available to us as humans. And let's end it with 3 to 5 deep breaths. 1, coming back into our own consciousness. 2, coming back into our bodies, our full bodies. 3, choosing this present moment. And lastly, choosing ourselves. I hope that was as rewarding for you as it was for me. And now let's get into the show. Thank you. So let's get into it, honey. This episode, self-respect. Hoo. Since the last time we met, we had our little, episode date, in our own healing corners. We've been embodying joy. And I really hope that y'all have been finding joy, and new ways to have it and be joyful and really like find joy, do that work instead of just letting it find you. And that's good. Y'all are good pupils. And now that we've come into joy and having our joy and just like sitting with it and like transforming in joy, because it really is a very special energy in helping with transformation and just like expanding our capacity for it, but also our capacity within it. Now it's time not necessarily to move on from our joy, but with our joy into self-respect. And I've personally actually been dealing with this theme for a while now. If y'all are just tapping in, or if y'all have been here already for, like season 1, if you look back on this podcast, I have like this episode about anger. And in that episode, I talk about fawning, and the fawn response, where there's fight, flight, and fawn. And fawn is kind of, it's a loss of fight, but it's kind of, it has aspects of flight in it, because you do fly. You fly away from life. You fly away from your body. You abandon yourself, and you just do what you need to do to survive in keeping the peace, And so that fawning is flying away from yourself, from your truth, from your own center, and just from your body, spirit-wise. And coming into it, going through just fawning for years and gaining back my own fire, my own power, and my own will has been really eye-opening. And it's of course expanded my gifts and all that, but it's allowed me to really see the world in such a different light and with such a different nervous system, and in sitting with it, I notice all that goes within it, self-respect. It provides not only will and your own power and your own truth, but it provides audacity. It provides the audacity to be yourself. What have we been talking about for like the past few episodes? Individuality and space. Having self-respect allows you not only to just have your space, but it allows you to stop questioning other people for it. And that's why it's very spiritual. Anger can be very sacred, is very sacred. Having an attitude. All of this is information from the body about boundaries that have been violated. And it's not necessarily about right or wrong, because of course that gets muddled when you go back to childhood. But it's about how you feel. And then it takes a skill for the other party to listen and validate your feelings, but then kind of redirect you in a way. Because looking on like TikTok and like gentle parenting, you're not going to, like, a toddler is going to show you that they're mad, have a tantrum. You're going to sit there with them, but you're not just going to concede to whatever they want as a way to quell their feelings, because that's untruthful. The truth is, you cannot go in the pool with all your clothes on. You can't even go in the pool right now. You just saw the pool and wanted to go in it, and now you're mad. That's fine. What I'm not going to do as a parent is discount your feelings and ignore your cries. What I'm going to do is have the skill of redirection and be like, hey, we can't go in the pool right now, but we're about to go home. We're about to get in our PJs. We're going to take a bath. That's kind of like being in the pool, right? Yay, excitement. Now let's go run to the car. You want me to carry you? Or you want to run on your own? Or you want to race? That simple redirection, right? And so grow that. Growing that to an older person, to the person that you are right now. Self-respect holds that medicine and that information for you to be and remain an individual rather than feeling someone else's wants, someone else's story, and someone else's emotions and feelings casted over you so that you comply and you submit and you get absorbed into them and their space, but then also into the family. Whew. I kind of want to say that again, but I don't even remember verbatim what I said. I would be a horrible preacher. Because they be on point with stuff like that. They be like, self-respect is blah, 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 the exact same way. Ciao. Anyway, and so what I'm getting at here is that self-respect allows you to remain an individual because it comes from that middle point, that center that does hold anger. But past that, what fuels anger? Your fire. And that's why I'm saying it holds will and it holds audacity. Because as a child, it's like you have the audacity right now to not keep the peace. You have the audacity to show your anger. That says a lot of how your system, your community, your family system responds to you and your anger, because it shows what they want and what they prioritize and their current capacity for it. And generally and truthfully speaking, a lot of our parents did not have a capacity for our anger, for our emotions. And if you notice, emotions in general, anger especially, individualizes us. Those emotions that you can't really be proud of, and so you can't allow the other person to have. Because you can't be proud of anger, but you can be proud of happiness. You can be proud of joy. You can be proud of your child and admire them when they're laughing and happy and having fun, when they're being good human, quote unquote. But you can only admire them there. But you can't really admire everything else that comes with. And that's exactly why we have a shadow. Self-respect muddles all of that. It just says that doesn't matter. You don't matter that much to me. And you trying to matter that much to me is a problem that you're putting in my space. And you got to figure out why. Yeah. Self-respect says that. Self-respect does that. And it's why it was taken away from a lot of us and molded and concocted into something that would make you more compliant and make you more easy to deal with. And so how does this all link to joy? I will tell you right now, honey. the reason why the way they are linked is because of the medicine that is joy, how it aligns with the medicine of self-respect, though they may seem like opposites. And that's because they are, but even though they are opposites, they're not conflicting opposites, or else they don't have to be. That's the thing about being human and putting us in boxes of good or bad, because you can be able to have your self-respect, have your anger with a person, let it go, say your truth, then leave if you need to, and then in the next moment still understand that you still have your joy, you still have happiness around you, because when we get into that mode of like having to defend ourselves, sometimes we stay there and other things come in, like guilt from way back when, like just this questioning, this confusion that happened when we first exerted a sense of self-respect and a sense of boundaries with our emotions, but then they got impeded on, and it brought us into this confusion on who we are and versus who we have to be, and how we have to have this over responsibility to other people and making them happy. And just this phenomenon of making someone happy versus making someone blah, blah, blah. Because like the truth is, and when I first heard this, I thought it was a load of crap too. But I sat with it honestly for years before I really like got it. But the truth is, you can't really make anyone feel a type of way. That happens within them. And you see this when you're able to look. I always have this image of like when you pull something apart, it's like this image of like a crystal ball, or just like, what's in the crystal ball, like the fog within the crystal ball, and like looking over like into a pot, like how you would look at a pot in a pot, and just like pulling it apart, watching the fog dissipate, and seeing like the truth that is there. What actually happens when you quote unquote make someone feel a type of way? You do something in general. They perceive it, and then something happens within them. But notice this word, they perceive it. It's not that they just look at it. It just happens. They don't just observe it, they perceive it. And so a lot of it has to do with perception, And I don't want you to go back in your mind and like think about the worst thing that someone has ever done to you and then be like, dang, well, was it just my perception that I got angry? No. But just sit with that, And so in sitting with it, coming back to our parents, child, and coming into like imagine like remember being so free and just in your own world. And then all of this stuff is dumped on you, especially the not only lesson, but just the forced lesson of you have a responsibility to me and my emotions as a parent. You have to think about that first before you think about your graham crackers in the morning. Before you think about like what you're excited about for the day, before you think about, Before you think about you and your joys, think about me. That is a heavy, dense energy to put on like a 2-year-old. And that it would be very disingenuous, actually, to say and put forth that that is making someone socially aware. You know? Because, of course, when you're a child, you're not really aware of like how you impact people. But it doesn't go from being so closed off and unaware to being so open and aware and hyper vigilant. And that bounce, that forceful, like bounce from being closed to being so open is why a lot of us are where we are at right now. Because we didn't learn with self-respect in tow of how to truly grow with ourselves and with other people, where we still get to keep our space. And that's why we're talking about this today. And so I want to get into the fact that the body is made up of a bunch of different checks and balances to make sure that things run smoothly. And so think about how physically the core is there. Your physical core is there as a resource when you're working out or when you're lifting things, doing some type of work, so that your back doesn't do all the heavy lifting and have all of this responsibility that it cannot handle and will put a strain on it, on any part of your body that you try to use other than your core. And that our back is so easy for that because it's literally right there. And your back, as a result of that imbalance, will gain an injury. This is the exact same with our energetic body. The medicine of joy is one thing within itself, and it helps to cultivate other things and awaken them inside of us. It brings the magic in general to life, but it allows us to expand in other things. Like it brings magic that allows us to expand our imagination, which enhances our gifts and allows us to come into them, and actually allowing us to see truth and the truth of the world and its magic, rather than just like this desolate wasteland and thinking, oh, I'm actually being real and I'm being realistic, and seeing the world through shameful eyes rather than joyful ones. And think about the fact that why people become an enemy to their own joy like that. Think about what happened. Think about it. What would make us become an enemy? And think about that in terms of what we're talking about right now, the checks and balances. When joy isn't here, our eyes change. Our perception changes. We start to see things that just are not there. The color changes. We start to see in more gray, or just colors become dull. And a lot of people tote this sight as truth and as being real. But having the self-respect to hold on to your own joy, rather than simply absorbing into the collective dread, will allow you to truly see past that. And you won't be just overly optimistic in an unrealistic way, but you will have your optimism. Because you don't need to throw away your joy in order to really see. You actually need it. And that's the confusion. a lot of us are under. But staying on script, child. It brings the magic to life, but more importantly, like I just said, the magic of us. Our own personal expression and magic to the things that we do, the things that are personal. Our joy. Think about when it stopped being personal and started being for someone else, for survival. You know, think about like when you ever saw those TikToks of like, oh, a kid crying and dancing, and it's like, oh, when your mom forced you to do that dance that you always do for her friends. Think about that. Let's look at that and dissect that. Think about when joy became survival. Think about it in terms of what I just said about you can't be proud of anger like you can be proud of joy in another person. And so think about in that like energy, how that creates like an energetic agreement with yourself about your own joy and your own magic that you cultivate, but also with the parent or just with figure outside of you. And how like, okay, I don't get in trouble when I make mommy laugh. When I don't get in trouble when I'm laughing. So how does joy become over optimism with no real basis? Like how a lot of people think optimism in general is, a lot of people that have those dull perspectives. Think about how joy becomes over optimism with no realisticness. Yep, I'm keeping that. Correct me in your own head, but don't correct me out loud. But also think about when joy became an entity outside of you for someone else, for something else, rather than something that you just have. When did joy, like, I want to say get a different definition, but I really want to say just get a definition. Because when we're born, like these things are just within us. They're not defined because they don't have to be. And think about the fact, or just this perspective, that things only have to become defined when something is brought in to oppose it. You know? That's like some big brain thing to think about. I'm going to be thinking about that a lot after this episode. But like, think about that. And so think about just when you just have something, when you just have confidence, when you just have things, and they don't need to be defined. But then it only needs to be defined when something else disrupts it, you know? And so having our own personal expression and energy and magic to the things that we do, having our own personal joy to where it's not an entity outside, but we recognize it as something cultivated within. And we recognize it as personal again, to something that we don't have to explain. Something that we can just have and show on our body, and we don't have to explain to someone else, oh, why are you so happy right now? It don't even got to be defined as happiness. It's just something personal. That allows you to kind of like not necessarily implode, but think about that body movement of like implosion. That's boundaries. That's allowing yourself to just have things for the sake of you having them. And it don't gotta be for everybody else. And that's not to say it in like an attitude-ish way. It's to say it in a way where like you just have integrity. You just have self-respect. Not everything that is on you is for everyone else and is for the world. You notice and recognize that it is for you. And so that's like just the perfect example of how different energies inside us complement each other and need each other to thrive. And not only thrive, but you need something to protect your joy, not in like a cage, prison, Fort Knox type of way, but just protect it in a way where you know that it's yours. And that in itself is protection. You know? Because there was one point in all our lives when our joy was taken from us. Actually, multiple points, but it was just one point where we just gave it up. We were just tired. Our light was dimmed, and we made the agreement to just keep it dimmed. You know, whether that agreement was with ourselves or with others outside of us, or both, because that's really how it works. You know, where it was threatening, and it seemed threatening, and other people's confusion that became ours. Because the thing about joy, and to be honest, any of the energies that we run, but especially joy, like I was saying, it's an individual thing that happens. Think about how people will like react to people that are just happy to be happy. Think about like the little slick comments, you know, like, oh, we just got the happy one over here, that like go beyond like jokes, but also the jokes. I'm not saying like, oh, this is like, oh, if people joke on you at all, they're a villain. But think about what happens when our joy is just ours. When we're around someone who's also joyful, you don't just like question it. You just exist in joy together. And that's what I love about true joy. But when you're with someone or around someone who is under like the confusion in general in their lives, or just in that moment, that their joy is not theirs, notice how they just start to question yours. Because energetically, we'll see something in someone and it'll create a spark that happens within us. That actually so much happens. But for the sake of right now explaining it, this spark is remembrance. That we have it too. But then we don't know where to go with that remembrance. Because why isn't it here right now? We don't know how to answer that. And so we direct that questioning to the person that sparked it within us. And so thinking about individualization, when you make the agreement to be an individual, you become responsible for your own joy. And that is on the same line as self-respect, responsibility. You don't reach out in questions about yourself to other people like that anymore. You instead go within and resource your own energy, or at least attempt to, by asking those questions, those hard questions, but simple ones. And so joy, our happiness, our emotions, they're all individualizing energy. And just like the rest of the great energies in our shadows, you know, for example, our independence, determination, ambition, happiness, playfulness, these are all energies that individualized us as children, you know, and we're part of our personality in whatever way. But it became something. It became something to change when it was displayed in a way that clashed with someone else. And so it didn't become yours anymore. What became now yours was the responsibility to someone else's emotions. And we could say that is the shadow, or that's the barrier, of a shadowy barrier to the knowing, not only to these things like ambition, determination, joy, happiness, but also to the knowing that they are ours, you know? And so self-respect says you get to have these things again. And they don't have to be about someone else. They don't have to be a threat to someone else. And you know, even if someone comes to you with their own confusion and says, these things are threatening. They're threatening me, they're threatening the group, they're threatening the peace. You won't fawn to that and be absorbed into that, into someone else's mess like that anymore, because you have that self-respect that acts as a boundary to you and other people's energy and other people's ideals and other people's perspectives that they may want to shove down your throat and make you responsible for, because they don't know how to deal with the spark that happens. Ooh, 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 ooh. Can y'all tell like I love what I do? Period. I love this. I just love this. Like, it's so good. But let's move along because I have a lot more to say and explain. And so self-respect, it kind of acts as also that neutralizer energy, because you're just coming into knowing. That knowing, it doesn't only happen in the mind, it happens in the body, and something gets activated. And when you come into self-respect, what might get activated first is the information of anger, because it's your body informing you of the fact that a boundary was impeded on, and that you are convinced of making other people's mess your own, you know? And then what comes right directly after is the knowing of self-respect. And so think about the anger as fire that just quells that smoky confusion and just burns it. And then self-respect comes right after, which comes with a knowing of an owning of your energy. And that knowing, child, it may come with sacral activations, but it just comes with an activation of your own expression, because this is like chemistry. You know, it's like chemistry. Think about how one thing activates the other and then creates a whole nother thing in your body. Think about how things like make space when they allow themselves, when you allow it actually to run again. And so when you own yourself, other things get ruptured that you kind of gave away or were taught to give away. And we're taught to just go off of other people's energy in order to allow it to flow. And this is where that kind of threat comes from that people feel. Because number one, you're closed off to like easy influence, but also just levels of influence in general. And you're not available for other people's baggage and not only influence, but that influence that pushes on you, that pushes on your boundaries, that impedes them. And people don't deem you safe for the type of person that they want to be. And I say want in quotes, of course, but that in itself is a threat. Owning your own energy, that creates a boundary, and self-respect, it quells all of that confusion, that it closes us off to that opening that once was fawning. Because fawning is really no boundaries, and it is because you have no boundaries, you get overly influenced by other people's energy. And think about the fact that people will deem you a safe person when you are like that, more than they will deem you safe when you own your energy. Think about the confusion that brings when you don't have just a sense of yourself. This is really why I want to talk about this today. Because we deserve this. We deserve to have ourselves. It's not fair to just go through life with an open center for people to just dump. And then they just bring us further into the confusion by calling us a good person just because they get to dump in us. I'm not interested anymore in that. And there came a point where I just was not interested anymore in being good, and proving that I'm a good person, and all of those BS definitions that really means something else, that has a mask. And it's time to awaken, because I don't want y'all to be like that either. Under confusion and under other people's authority and other people's energy that are convincing you that you're so good and great simply because you let them dump on you. That doesn't make you more righteous. That doesn't make you good. It doesn't make you anything other than a dumping site. And I say that because that is the truth that I needed in order to break free from the confusion. I'm not good because I let people walk all over me. I'm just a person that lets people walk all over me. I'm not righteous and pious and more godly because I let people walk all over me. I am just a person that gets walked all over. And it's time to be done with that confusion. Because what do we want? We want our Lionsgate activations, right? We want our gifts to grow, but also we want to be happy. We want our individuality. We want to be free spirits. We cannot do that with other people's baggage in our space and without our own truth and integrity. We can't do that under the helm of other people. Because as you can see, other people will throw us around and around and around in circles for their own comfort. Because a lot of people are just comfortable under their own confusion. And this is not to do a competition, us versus them type of thing, because that's what this society does. It gives us soothing and nurturing, things to soothe and nurture us, so that we will be soothed and nurtured, but mostly soothed under the confusion that it allows and that it brings. And so objectively, we're more comfortable with the confusion and living under the confusion. But think about how easy your life will be when you just let your energy to flow rather than being soothed all the time. Whew. Good God. And so self-respect tells us that we are not a real threat to people. And our joy and our owning of ourselves and our power is not a real threat to people. You know? And we don't have to be convinced just because other people in our presence are reminded of their lack. And objectively, their lack of a flow of energy, of their own energy. Because that's what the confusion does. It causes us to stop our energy out of fear. And then because we stopped it and we don't know how to make it free anymore, run free, but also we don't want to because of survival, it then convinces us that that energy is not there for us anymore. It cuts us off from ourselves by way of convincing. And so when people come to us convinced that they don't have joy and that we need to stop having joy in their presence or give our joy to them because of their convincing that it's a threat in some way, or that it's threatening when you don't give it to them, we can actually not argue, stay in our space, stay expanded, stay cultivated, stay resourced to our own stuff and not stop our joy instinctively to be safe. We can actually say, no, that is not true. And I'm not playing that game, actually. I'm not going to fight against it. I'm just going to say no because it's not my responsibility to have and to hold. And also, that then gives them the invitation to know that it's not their responsibility either. And so, as you can see, true change happens when we are able to be individuals. Because we're sharing our own truth. And then other people have a say in what they're gonna do when that truth lands. But whatever they say to it, about it, it is not your responsibility still to hold. It's your responsibility to have your truth, actually. You have a responsibility to yourself, actually. And so it's not yours to deal with what someone else chooses under their own confusion. But of course, this gets tricky. It doesn't get tricky with strangers, although it can, but it gets especially tricky with family, with friends, with our partners. This is why we actually do this work, so that we can help awaken other people, but it won't be strangers who you don't even know like that. It'll be the people that you love. And that's where you, if you need it, other than the fact that of all that I just said, but that's where you will get your fire to say your truth, because it'll come from love and not from ego of just wanting to be heard and wanting to be loud and wanting people to listen. It'll come from a place of love, because honestly, that's really where it comes from. An appreciation of self and those energies that flow, that help you be yourself. It won't come from, I need to fight to keep myself anymore. It'll come from love of yourself and just a different type of focus, a going internal and seeing these energies and perceiving them and being like, wow, I really like this. I really love how this feels. I want to keep it. I want it to be for me. I really like myself when I'm like this. I'm going to do what I need to do to keep myself like this. And with that focus, you'll be able to go further on your journey rather than worrying about everyone else and what they feel and think about your joy, about your happiness, about these things that are for you and were for you in the first place. And so the resentment that other people have for us, it won't matter. We won't feel like, we won't absorb it into our space. You know, silent resentment, it won't penetrate our natural barrier that self-respect brings. And the reason why we look at it as confusion is so that we can put things into more specific context. But for me, at a base level, it doesn't allow me to take things so personally. You know, as a Leo, as a passionate Leo, as a self-individual, you know, as the ego, the sun, you know, I needed to have that truth to come to me that I can shine however I do. And just because people act up against it, it doesn't mean that I don't get to shine anymore. I don't have to absorb it and have their resentment become my own against them and against myself because I allowed this in for whatever reason, allowed in very loose quotes, you know? And so just acknowledging, like not letting it be part of my past story of like, oh, everybody like took away my joy. Nobody allows me to have joy anymore. I can't be happy. Everyone wants me to be sad and mad and hold their feelings, but I don't get to have my own. You know? It allows me to stop adding to that story and perpetuating my own pain and hurt. And it allows that disruption of not taking it personally and realizing this is someone else's energy. And this is someone else's perspective. And this is someone else's confusion. And I still get to have my joy, even in the face of that. You know? And so, because this happens in general, but also so often, that we don't even realize, we need a backing to be able to have our joy and own our power and our energy so much that we take the responsibility of allowing joy to occur in the face of anything within its own right, but also within ours. You know, we need this necessary boundary, this shielding, and not a cage, like I said, but a knowing that this is mine and no one can take it away, actually. You know, like people can annoy us, that's fine. Like we will feel emotions of anger, of annoyance, of, you know, just like things that like are just like, ugh, you know, that are not necessarily joyful. But that doesn't mean that we hold them and we make it about us in a way that cuts us off again from our joy. Yes. And so you don't need to have this brandished sword all the time that seeks to fight anything that comes your way. you know, because it's the self-respect that provides its own protection under the curriculum of energy mechanics. It'll patch up your wounds in yourself, but also in your own aura that once made you a match for people that needed you, that needed your joy, that needed to put you down so that they could, so that you could stop being a threat. You don't have to have the defensive brandished sword anymore. You can actually live your life not caring, not focused, rather, because your energy is already doing its own job of running itself in a way that has you protected without having that hypervigilance. This is why I like to get into energy mechanics, because we think with our mind that, oh, I have to do everything on my own. I'm cut off from my body. I have to bear these burdens in my poor mind, but you don't. You can let it lift off your back, because all that really does, being defensive like that, it's still holding other people's energy from your past. It's not doing what you think it is. It's still kind of opening you up for and being a magnet for those things to come to you so that you can fight it. It's time to come to a sense of neutrality, simply from the harmony of how your energies run, because now you allowed a backing, a support to these joyful but also vulnerable energies. It's time to be a person again and not a wound. It's time to be a human, an actual human, child. And not this fakeness that we're like, this fake template that we're given and then we just mimic all the time as a way to prove. Because that's no fun. That's also the reason why we have our joy. Because it's no fun to be like this. We're here to have fun again. All of these emotions that people told you are not mature and not blah, 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 blah. We're here to have them again so that we can have fun. And it's okay to be like, I want to have fun again. I don't want to be so serious. I don't know if y'all know, but I joined this spiritual school that's I guess headed by the healer of all healers. But her name is Miriam Hasna. And in one lesson, she's talking about, it's called Sacred Play. And she's talking about how important these energies are, for just our human harmony. And she mentioned how you can tell when people are taking themselves too seriously and have this clenched butthole, in her words. And they think it's maturity. And they think it's right. But look at the people you admire. Are they having fun? Are they? Or are they just overly survivalists? Under the confusion that they are mature and they are good and they are right? And are you under that confusion as well? It's time to question, y'all. For real. As y'all can see, child, this is going to be a long one, but It's long because I really just want y'all to see. Coming up out of confusion is challenging. But it's important, number one, to awaken from it and to get the mechanics and the tools of how to, by way of understanding how things work. You know? We need self-respect, not only for our joy, but like I said, for the rest of these vulnerable emotions and energies running through us that need a backing, that need a defense. The same defense we were convinced out of through childhood because of the confusion of our parents. We may have an agreement with them that we would match them by giving our joy away and matching their stoicism, matching their clenched buttholes, matching their own misery, matching their pain, because we love them. And that's the thing. Getting this all gets us back to our heart discernment and true love and truth that is within our heart, because our heart was compromised. Love to us with these agreements, you know, we did them out of love that aided in that confusion. And the definition of love changed with these agreements with the people that we loved. Mommy seems more happy when I am joyful and when I give away my joy to her. So I'm gonna try and be the mediator with her energies and the balance of this family by being the funny one. Or if you're another type of child, I'm gonna fawn to and match mommy's stoicism and fawn to it as a way to help her balance it. This is how these things happen energetically. Like emotionally, yeah, but underneath energetically. You know, and so out of love, we not only matched energy, but we matched nervous systems. We took on their thought and perspectives and the other things that made them the way that they are so that we could relate and so that we could be good and so that we could survive and go under the radar. Why? So that further, we couldn't be a threat to them, to the family, and to their fantasy of what they wanted, how a family should and would complete them, and how their children have that job and responsibility as well. And so, a threat to them as individuals under their own confusion. And as a result, a threat to the way that they were choosing, quote unquote, to run their energy. A threat to the way that they were surviving. Whew. Come on. And so in that agreement, in that change of the definition of love, that's how we came to not only be part of, but understand family. Understand the concept of a group, an understanding of connection, which is, in our confusion now, a shrinking under, a fusing with, shrinking under someone else's energy that they casted and provided for all of the family to live and operate under. and absorbing into something and giving away what? Our self-respect. And this is how we come to quote unquote know. Fusing, shrinking, and absorbing and giving away our power and our individuality and responsibility to self, which is respect, as things like empathy, matching misery, matching confusion, matching in general as love. And you can even check in and view your own programming and confusion to confirm. How does it feel when you feel sad or just get an attitude in a group of friends or a family and everyone is still laughing? Everyone is still having their joy. But they don't match your emotions. Does it feel like a threat to you? Because to me, it used to. It used to be like, you're not matching me. You don't care. And now I'm going to try to absorb all the happiness from this room with my bad attitude. How does it feel? Think about the scenario of you telling someone your feelings in general about something, you venting and ranting, and they don't match you, but they just simply listen. And they start asking like questions. When you just want a vent session and someone to like, just match you and just be like, what? And be like, yeah, girl, that happens, I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm saying look in. How does it feel? What does it feel like? Are you just like, you're not giving me what I need right now? You're boring. I don't like you right now. Think about being angry and you finally get the courage to confront someone about your feelings about them and you're really giving it to them and they're just sitting there listening. Not matching you, but listening. What comes up? Maybe pause and write it down because this is the work, thinking, checking in, looking at our energy, looking at how it runs, looking if we're in harmony right now, and looking if we're not, what is stopping that harmony? Do we feel a sense of insignificance? An idea that the other person doesn't care, a belief that our feelings don't matter. And in this split, in observing this other person that has a calmness with us, and instead of matching, are we in a split second reminded of what's going on for us in the moment and that we are the ones that have to deal with it instead of someone else? That we are the ones that have to deal with the baggage of our past. This is by simply checking in, this is what helps us to uncover what's not the real, as in giving our wounds truth or an absolute truth, but it's simply the truth of what we felt. We deserve to take back our energy and our power and own it again. And if that happens by way of owning your own joy, so be it. That's still valid because life is about fun. I just want to leave y'all with the fact that this is the language of our emotions. This is energetic language that we also speak. But if you're disconnected from your own emotions and actively avoid them, you won't know exactly what they're saying, and you might take them as the truth of what's going on right now. But it may just be the truth of what's going on inside. That's what our emotions are always, and we're always supposed to represent, And so as you go on this journey with this idea of self-respect and, toting it with you, allowing yourself to learn from it, allow yourself also to learn from the anger that comes up. Allow yourself to learn from the fire that comes up. Allow yourself to learn about your past. Allow yourself to learn about the injuries that went down and where. And allow yourself to learn about the confusion that you were once under. And then allow yourself to let it go. Because what comes after that anger is a sudden realization and a knowing that we are in joy already and have always been. And you don't need shame to help you, accompany you with oh, well, if you was in joy this whole time, just that dumb voice. Allow after that anger, right after that realization that, wow, I have been with myself this whole time. And I actually really love that. And I really appreciate that. And I'm so happy that right now, in this moment, I can just have that. I can just have myself. And I can just be under my own authority, under my own thinking and knowing, within my own power. So, this was part 1 of self-respect. I really hope y'all enjoyed and that it awakened a lot within y'all. Part 2, because it is so juicy, is going to be next week. And then next, you're going to have to ask God, because I have no idea what's coming next yet. Subscribe to my Patreon if y'all want, some collective messages and just thoughts that run through my mind. I talk about energy. I also do want to talk more about energy and energy work on there. And there are just going to be such great additional treats that are just going to come on there that you will have to subscribe to know about. Ooh, secretive. Love y'all so much. I really hope y'all got so much out of this. When you see it on social media, share it, send it to your friends, and just, y'all appreciating it helps me to just appreciate the work that I do even further, than I already do. And thank you so much in advance. Love y'all. Goodbye. See y'all. Y'all will hear me in the next one. Bye.